What's up, friends? Kevin here, and in this video, we're going to be adding sound effects to a cool little video game that we vibe coded uh, fairly recently, an RPG game, fantasy style, and I'm going to show you how we go about adding all of those sound effects tracks and creating those. First, we're going to show you around the little studio room here. So over here is the computer we'll be on later. It's an old 2010 iMac using Logic 10 will record. We've got a little microphone down here, some guitars for input, and a keyboard for MIDI controlling uh, that we'll use later. We also have a finish flag and an electronic drum set for more MIDI control. And that's the little room here. Some effects pedals on the floor, a little amplifier for playing live, a guitar looper, and that is the modest little music production studio. And we're on a little MacBook Air here that we're using to make these silly games and programs. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, this is Riventide. It's got original music that my wife and I did, and so there's a bunch of music in it, and it's got a story about kind of set in fantasy medieval times and also with some sci-fi elements. It's a pretty eclectic story, and so I'm just going to show you a little of the game, and then we're going to go into how we make the music tracks for it. So this has been a fun project. Each scene gets its own music, so this is kind of the intro. We won't go through the whole gameplay, but when you change scenes, the music will change. We'll go through this scene, the music changes again. So each scene gets its own music. There's also sound effects, so you'll see once we get into in the next scene, there'll be a sound effect with some crickets and like forest noises. And then while we're hearing those, so we'll see what's up with that. So this scene will get new music once we get here. And it doesn't have it yet. That's what we're going to work on today. Okay, so quickly, we'll go through Cursor here. We used Cursor to build most of this game, and we just did it one scene at a time, and as it did so, it added the music elements and sound effects elements. And so then we just go replace, if it made its own track, which it kind of did at the beginning, it had some sounds that were kind of beeps and boops. I would just recreate those files with the appropriate names and make it my own music. So we've already built songs for some of these, Fairy, Eldoria, the main theme, and Whisperwood, Royal Court, Alien Tech. We made those yesterday, and today I'm going to show you what it's like when we make these ones. So we're going to start with the fun part here, these sound effects. And we worked on these yesterday. Today we're going to work on these ones for scenes 7 through 11, including fairy chimes, crystal resonance, and we've got little descriptions. We know where they fit. So when you enter the fairy realm, plays fairy chimes, and we can kind of look at our story document here and see a little more about that part. So fairy realm, the music's an ethereal melody with harps and flutes. We're probably not going to go that direction. But we can read this little story and then kind of know what sound effects we want to use, or we can just kind of make funny ones, and that's the fun of it. So these are the file names. I put them in a note, and I put them over on our recording computer, and we're going to go use Logic next and do the fun part. Okay. I am sad that the last video didn't have any of my dialogue audio because I was making a bunch of sound effects here. Uh, so I still have a few more to make, fortunately, and so you can experience this with me. Crystal Overload we just made. Let's take a listen to that. So here you see I've got this list of sound effects we need and their names, and then some context about where they might go, and I know some myself that I'll share as we're making them. So Crystal Overload, there's this crystal that we have to find, and then there's a scene where it overloads and things. So this is the sound. We're using these MIDI patches here from various MIDI instruments, and this one's called Vintage Sci-Fi Ambience. Not bad, huh? So then we went and mixed that down, and we've got it over here as a WAV file. We have a few more to make. Here's Scanner Beam. Scanner Beam is in a scene where there's a scanner beam. I'm not too familiar with it, but that's okay. We don't need to be. Let's go back. So here's our basic folders of MIDI sounds. We're going to open up a synthesizer. We've got arrangement effects, scanner beam. Maybe it'll be here under arrangement effects. Let's try this one. And I have a MIDI keyboard over here. Okay. How about underwater laser? Let's try that. Scanner beam. I want it to be like a single note, right? Not builders or risers. Is it going to be an experimental one? FM modulations. Okay. That's kind of fun. I won't go through too much more. FM modulations seems like a winner. How about Laser Brain? No. Gated morph synth. No. Sci-fi communications. Scanner beam. Level up. Velocity shifter. Transform flare. That's good. Is that better than FM modulations? I think so. Which one was that? Velocity shifter? No. Transform flare? Yeah, I think that's a winner. Okay. So we'll mute Crystal Overload. We're ready to record on this. Record. Excellent. Now we will mix this down. Bounce. Project. So we're in Logic Pro 10 here on an old Mac computer. Everything's probably pretty small because this is a big 27-inch screen. We're going to mix it down as a WAV file. That's what the code asks for. And it's going to be called scanner underscore beam dot wave. And so it's dropping all of these on my shared desktop, and then I'll go over to the computer I'm building the game on, And we'll just drag these into the assets folder for sound effects. In another video, I'll show you how I do the music, and we'll use the same notes here to make some music tracks. I've got some ideas for those, but to finish this part of the project, we have one more sound effect we need, the grackle alarm. So in the land of fairy, they've been dealing with the grackles, and they've got an alarm that goes off when the grackles are near. The grackles are like this group that is alien friendly, and so this like mystical race is very wary of them. So what would a fairy grackle alarm sound like? Do we use some of these same experimental sound effects? I mean, the first thing you pick always seems to be like a good idea. Spectacularity seems like a pretty good idea for an alarm. Spiraling down. I think the womp 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 type of things we were hearing before were... That's too happy. Oh, alien alarm. How did I miss that? Is that too on the nose? It's pretty cool. Noise pump. Yeah. Old robot factory. That's cool, but it's not an alarm. What did we do? Sheets of metal. Square gliss up. Spiky shoes. Swell synth. That's good. That seems more fairy-like, I guess. Swell synth or alien alarm. I wish I could have you vote. I think it's the alien alarm, right? Yeah, we won't go any further. All right. Recording. I don't know how long it needs to go. That's okay though. I think it'll just repeat. So we'll make sure it's, the right length to be able to repeat. And we'll mix down that grackle alarm. As a wave, we'll name it grackle underscore alarm. And we'll bounce it. All right, now we'll head back over to the other computer, put those sound effects into those scenes, and see if we can't hear them. All right, last step. Here are all of those files that we just made over in Logic. And now we're going to drop them into this assets folder that we have here. So we have sound effects, we have music. Here are all the sound effects. And then we'll get a little payoff moment where we'll go through the game and hear some of the sound effects go off. So here are all the ones we made recently. I'm just going to drop them right into the sound effects folder here. Crystal resonance already exists. We'll replace it. Yeah. Okay. And for a payoff moment here, one of the sound effects I made previously was this forest ambience. Sounds like this. And we installed that into the game. So the issue here with these recent sounds we made is that they appear later in the game than we have developed. But I will give you a little payoff moment with that forest ambience and when that is triggered and we can see it. Well, it's all triggered in the backend code. This is the terminal, kind of tells us what's going on in the game as it runs. It's in Python, so we enter it like this. Even that blip between these screens is a sound effect. That's when the computer or the cursor made for us. Just a simple little beep. Here's a little well. Well, that's to transition between the dialogues, which I don't know if I like that. Maybe we'll change that. It makes sense when we ask a question. Well, it seems a little louder. Maybe we can adjust the volumes, but this is all my guitar. We have a question here. Well, let's quickly go through this. I'll do a full gameplay of the game later when it's finished. But let's listen in this next scene. This is kind of the gateway of Eldoria into the forest, and you have to decide to actually go into the forest. When we trigger the forest, you'll hear the forest ambience. So here it comes. That is that sound effect in the background. We have some built in here. Yeah, I think we have one for the metallic object here when we hit it. If we activate the device, maybe a long echo. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but we can keep working with those. So that's about as far as we've gotten. And that's the conclusion of the sound effects video. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if I can flesh anything out more for you. Thanks for joining.